Hey everybody, welcome to part 2 of me going through every anime I've ever dropped and explaining why I dropped them. Before we begin, I'm going to go ahead and move myself over... Wait, can I do... Move myself, there we go. See, I based the arrangement around, not cutting off the numbers here, but then when I click on a show... I cut off like the part of the name and the image because it's a little bit more to the left. So we're going to go ahead and move me over here. And since we don't really need all this space anyways, let's make me bigger. So you're probably going to be looking at me for the most part anyways. Yeah. Alright, let's go ahead and go through this fucking list. Starting, we ended off on Bungo Stray Dogs. So, alright. Busou Renkin. This was a shonen action series that has a fucking awesome opening theme that was very popular on Nico Nico Doga. Makanachikai! It's great, but the show just seemed really bog standard. Not very good visuals either, so yeah, I just didn't bother continuing it. Busou Shinki Moon Angel. This one I only gave a shot to because this is based on a toy line that was made by I don't remember who. Oh god. I shouldn't have tried to record so soon after eating. By Konami, there we go. Yeah, it's a toy line that I have this exact toy, this one that's on the cover. It was the first figure I ever bought. I got it from a local comic store. So I wanted to watch the show for that reason, which the funny thing about these is that they're extremely customizable. So you can have this girl with much smaller tits, much shorter hair, which is how mine has been stylized over the years. But let's check it all my shit, make sure I'm actually recording. Yeah, this show seemed just really dumb and boring or whatever, so I just didn't, I don't even remember actually watching the whole first episode. I just had to look at it out of curiosity. C, The Money of Soul and Possibility Control. This is one of the Kenji Nakamura shows, the guy who did Kuchu Buranko and Gatchaman Crowds and Mononoke. He's a really good director who does really artsy, out there kind of visuals in his shows. They usually have usually kind of low budget shows, but they make up for it with really expressive visuals. In this particular case, this one is a little bit more ambitious than his other shows in terms of animation, and that's also where it fails because the animation's not that great. So a lot of the show's just kind of ugly, and it's a lot of exposition because it takes place in this really weird world that's based on financial battles and stuff. It's a fucking weird show that I just kind of couldn't keep up with it because I was trying to watch it every week. And there was just so much background information to keep track of that I wasn't that interested in. And so by the time I was 6 episodes in, I just didn't know what the hell was going on anymore. And I gave up. But I might want to give that one another shot. I know some people really liked it. Candy Boy. This is a Yuri incest show that started off a trend of Yuri incest afterwards. Which, at the time, I think when I watched episode 1, there was only one episode out, and this show took forever for each episode to come out, so I didn't end up watching any more of it, mostly for that reason. And, I mean, it didn't seem like it was particularly great or worth keeping up with, so I just kind of dropped it, because I figured I'd never get around to it again. But yeah. Canvas 2, this is just a eroge adaptation, I think. I don't even know why I watched 2 episodes of this. Girls look kind of cute, I guess, but I don't know. Who the hell cares? Captain Earth. I think this is another Enokido Yoji show, or at least it's from the director of Star Driver. This was one that was it looked like it was going to be the next Star Driver. That's what they were trying to go for with it. But then it just was weird and boring. And I remember the first episode was ludicrously good looking. It looked like a fucking an OVA or a film or something. And then after that, it just wasn't quite on that level. And the characters weren't very interesting. And I didn't get where the plot was going. And I just kind of lost interest pretty quick. Card Fight Vanguard. This is a children's card game show. with the card game's pretty popular, and I think this show's still going in one form or another. Like, they keep making seasons of it, kind of like Yu-Gi-Oh! But you know, I probably watched the first episode because the show had just started, and I went, yeah. C3, this is a, like, trashy light novel kind of show, I believe. I think it's a light novel show. Yeah, okay. From Silverlink. This one I remember this this was the first time that I did the finish or fail style thing for a whole season of shows, where like I watched everything that came out in the fall 2011 season and then dropped each one along the way. So that was like the first time I did that, where it was like every single show got a chance, and then you know, I gave all of them a fighting chance. Like, this show, I'm sure from the first episode I could probably tell was not very great, but like it had just enough that I was like, all right, I'll give it a try. I'll give it the 3-episode test. And after 3 episodes I was like, all right, I don't fucking care anymore. Chibi Kara Gonagai World. I think I watched this because, again, 1991. This is just like a really weird gag comedy show about all of Gonagai's characters in the same world. It's just like a bunch of Mazinger and Devilman characters in chibi form goofing around. You know, I remember it being like, it wasn't bad, but it was like, I feel like you'd have to be a big Gonagai fan to really care or get into it. Charlotte, really dumb, stupid, bad show. I can't believe this has almost an 8 on here, because this show got pretty fucking railed on by a lot of people. But, yeah, it's just, like, it has a really strong premise. Like, the first episode is great, and then it immediately becomes just, like, mediocre, wheel-spinning, overwrought, boring, dumb shit. And, really hated some of the characters, and I know that it eventually becomes like hilarious in how dramatic it gets. Like, I've heard some of the spoilers for what happens later, where the main character like does cocaine or something, like because his sister dies, and so he goes on like a drug bender, which sounds kind of incredible, but I haven't seen that far. Chaos Head, this one was just like the first episode, I just didn't get it. I know a lot of people feel that way. It's based on a game. It's one of those where everyone's like, go read the visual novel, don't watch the anime's shitty, go read visual novel. And I'm like, you think I want to read a visual novel? You think I have any desire to ever have to do that? Why don't I just kill myself before I go and do that? Cheating Craft. This, I talked about this in Finish or Fail. It's one of the Chinese cartoons from recent years. Chiodanchi also talked about this in Finish or Fail. Really strong start, and then immediately nosedives in quality. It was really sad. Chi Sweet Home. This is a show about an adorable cat. I'm not a cat person. I don't like animals. It's just not my thing. So I totally get why this show is really beloved by a lot of people. If you like cats, watch Chi Sweet Home. It's adorable. Chibi Devi. What the fuck? This was like, I know this is just like some cutesy shoujo thing about adorable devil babies. I don't remember watching this. I must have watched it when it came out. 75 episodes? Oh my god. I guess it was popular. Okay. Chichana Onaka. This sounds like porn. This sounds like lolly porn. Yeah, this is lolly porn. Okay. Chichana Yukitsukai Sugar. Oh, this is a little Snow Flurry Sugar. This is a early 2000s Puni Moe show. I would be curious to watch a little bit more of this. I remember this having surprisingly good artwork. Like, I think it's a Shinichiro Kobayashi backgrounds show, and the backgrounds look really nice. The characters are pretty cute, but it's just like a really slow slice of life kind of thing. Yeah, I just didn't feel like nothing about it like made me feel, oh, I should watch all of this, because it felt like it was just going to be a really slow, cutesy thing, and I don't know, the girls weren't that fucking cute that I would watch a whole show of that. Chitose Get You. I don't remember what this was. It's like a 5-minute episodes thing. Yeah, 3-minute. I guess it just wasn't funny enough. Chocolate Underground. Oh my god. I remember. Yeah, this is like sweets are banned, and there's like prohibition but with chocolate. It's like a kids show take on like prohibition or something. Like it's fucking weird. I just remember watching this just because it was such a strange concept that I kept watching episodes. I think they're like half length, 5-minute episodes. So I watched 5 just out of curiosity, but it was not entertaining. Chokoto's sister. This is a like lolly moe show. Like this is just a siscon show from the mid 2000s. So this is Eromanga Sensei 10 years ago. It's just the same kind of vapid, cute girls show, but of a different era. Okay, robot anime straight title. So this is a 3 CG girls with voice actresses doing like improv kind of show. It's very similar to Good Good Fairies. In fact, I think it's the exact same team as Good Good Fairies. But it's not nearly as funny as Good Good Fairies, which you should all watch. That show's incredible. This one, I made it 3 episodes in, and I was just like, this isn't that funny. Orgus 02. This is another like classic mech OVA with really great artwork and character designs, which I think is what it's best known for, is like having great mecha and character art, but like I just wasn't interested enough in it. Not a huge mecha guy. There's some people who will carry through a mediocre show because it has great mecha, like great mech action, great mech designs. I don't care enough about robots to do that. Chrono Crusade. This was a really popular show in the early 2000s, known especially for its sort of dramatic ending, but it's pretty like typical episodic monster of the week, but then with I guess an evolving plot that goes as it comes along. It's like they work for the church and they fight monsters, if I remember correctly. I watched the first episode and it just seemed like pretty boilerplate stuff, like nothing to write home about. This was a weird Chinese thing. I think this is the one that I had said that the first episode was like really hilarious because it was so badly produced in really funny ways. Chubra. This is actually an okay show, in spite of what you're seeing on screen. Not that this isn't accurate. This is a show about a middle school girl whose like grandma makes bras, and so she's like way into bras, and like because it takes place in like a period of school where like girls are starting to develop and need bras, and she's like the bra savant, and she's guiding everyone else to have like the proper bras and stuff like that. You can learn a lot about bras watching this show, I'll tell you that. I think this was like simultaneously intended to be like a lolly fan service show and then also like an educational show for young girls about bras. This is written by a woman, the original manga. Hard to say what her intentions were, but yeah, it was alright. I watched half of it, but it wasn't enough fun to make me want to finish the whole show. And I wrote a review of it once that I tried to submit to Anime News Network. I wanted them to hire me as a reviewer, and I got shit on by the guy who leads Anime News Network, Zach whatever. Chunibyo de Makoi ga Shitai. This one, I didn't connect with this one, but I want to watch it again. I've tried to give it another shot. I watched the first episode of season 2, and I thought it was pretty good. I don't remember why, and everyone shits on season 2, so I'm scared to watch it because I don't want to watch all of season 1 and then watch season 2 and just be disappointed because everyone shits on it. Like, my little brother Shade is a huge fan of season 1 of this show, and he loves this girl. And like he really loved the first season, but he hated season 2. So like, yeah, I'm afraid of picking it back up only to be disappointed. But it seems okay. It's fine. It's whatever. I don't care. City Hunter 91. Obviously watch this again because 91. This is one of the seasons of City Hunter, which is a long-running cool badass detective guy show from the 80s and 90s, where it's just like this cool womanizing cop guy who goes around and does stuff. And I I don't know much about City Hunter. I haven't seen any other seasons. I just watched this one because it was from 1991, and I had the feeling like I shouldn't jump in here. Like, even though it's a pretty episodic series, I still felt like it expected me to already kind of like this guy before the show started, and I had no reason to. Clannad After Story. So I get a lot of shit for having dropped Clannad After Story. Obviously, it's one of the highest rated shows on this entire website because people like it when they cry. I don't care that much. Like, okay, I watched Clannad Season 1. I watched the first 14 episodes, like, back in 2009. And I did cry. I cried a lot in the Fuko arc. But only because the show is so good at making you cry. It's good at manufacturing these dramatic moments where they have the music and the lighting and the staging and everything's just right to make you cry. But I didn't actually care about the characters. Like, I couldn't tell you anything about Fuko or her situation. Like, I didn't really care about anything. It just was good at making me cry and nothing else. And so I had dropped the show because I thought it got really boring in the Kotomi arc. And then I ended up watching the rest of it because I was with my ex-girlfriend and I was at her house and she loves Clannad. So she got me to watch the whole first season, and then we were making our way through After Story and we just didn't finish it, which is why I've seen any of it at all. And for what it's worth, the 5 episodes of After Story I watched were better than like the entire first season, but still just you know, like I just didn't care enough to finish it. And I know there's a lot of people who would beg me to, but I really think the level of ire that I have for this type of show, for this kind of like cry porn show where its only goal is to make you cry. That is the point of this show, is to show you sad things so that you will cry. To try to get you to connect to these characters who are they're all just so good. They're all so nice. They're just good, nice people to whom bad things happen, and it's no one's fault really. It's just the sad circumstances of life itself, but you know, it's real sad and it makes you cry, but it's totally inoffensive and everyone's just a good guy. It's fucking lame. It's weak. It's gay. I hate it. Classroom Crisis. This one I am curious about because I had dropped this based on just the first episode not being very fun, but I've heard it picks up a lot as it goes. Like, I didn't hate the first episode, I just didn't really get where it was going. I was like, I don't know what this is. It seemed strange, and I didn't understand it. And then the real premise of the show is only revealed at, like, the very end of the episode, so I think it's one of those where maybe it makes more sense once you know the premise. And by that point, I was already just kind of, like, done with it. But I really love the character designs, which is why I want to give it another shot, because it's the designer of the Oreimo guy. What the fuck's his fucking name? It's slipping my mind right now. Kanzaki Hiro. Yeah, I like his designs, even though Eromanga Sensei doesn't look good. Claymore. This one is another popular show of the mid-2000s, mid to late, I guess, and it was just like a cool action show with a bunch of badass chicks with giant swords, often compared to Berserk for being another like high fantasy adventure action show with a dark, violent slant to it. Pretty fun stuff at times. Like, there's what the show is most famous for is its backstory arc, where like the first 4 episodes are just kind of whatever, like episodic adventures. The main character kind of sucks, but whatever. Then you get into this like 4-episode backstory that was really powerful, and it was kind of what like got everybody on board for the show. But then it just becomes like a really standard shonen thing, like power levels and fight these 4 guys and those are the bosses, and like it just wasn't very interesting. And even though the artwork of it is gorgeous. It's got that Madhouse late 2000s look with the thick outlines and the post-processing and everything, but the actual animation is not very good, and the directing's not very good. So it's not that entertaining to watch. And then everyone hated the second half of the show because the manga was ongoing, and Madhouse, as they were usually wont to do in the 2000s, made up their own ending, and no one was happy with it. So I didn't bother to finish the rest of the show. But I always thought I'd read the manga one day. Code E, this one I barely remember. I'd like to give this another shot because I really like the character designs, and I think it was, yeah, this girl can generate electromagnetic waves when her emotions run high. I think this is part of like a series where there was like a few shows that were something E. Like there was Code E, yeah, Mission E. And I think, if I remember correctly, whichever one came first, yeah, this one, Code E, people were just kind of like, thought it was kind of boring, and then Mission E was like a better show because it had more action focus and stuff. I don't know what they were going for with these two, but I'd be interested to revisit it because I don't remember shit about it. Comet Lucifer, this was one of those, it's an original show, and the first episode just felt like a train wreck. Like the director had no idea what he was doing, and it was all over the place, and it was really boring and bad. Concrete Revolutio. So I talked about this in Finish or Fail. I just can't wrap my head around this show. I appreciate that there is a greater depth to this, that it's like a commentary on fucking... I've had this one commenter who was like, how can you not appreciate that the show's a reflection of the Vietnam War era Japan? And I'm like, why would you assume I know anything about Vietnam War era Japan? I don't know. I literally know nothing about Vietnam War era Japan. I don't know any of what this show is trying to say about the era. And, I mean, maybe if I learned it would be more interesting, but the show is also kind of a total clusterfuck in terms of the writing style. You never know what the hell's going on until, like, deep into an episode. Which is just the, general writing style of Sho Aikawa, whose writing I generally hate. All of his shows are kind of like that. So, yeah, I don't know, but whatever. Kopihan, I have no recollection of this. What the fuck is this? 6-minute episode, Gonzo 2011. I have literally no memory of this. This picture doesn't look familiar to me. Who knows? Crayon Shin-Chan. So, this show I've only seen a few episodes of back when it was on Adult Swim, and I thought it was, alright. But Shin-Chan has, like, a lot of different permutations. It's still going in Japan, and it's just like a comedy show, but the Japanese version is so, like, laden with Japanese cultural references that when they dubbed it, they just completely changed the nature of the show to be, like, more of an American style comedy, which is fine. It works. The American version's great. And apparently they've done that in like every country it's been imported to. But with Shin-Chan, it's like, I don't know if I should watch the dub or the Japanese version, because there's a lot of, the Japanese version obviously goes way past the dub, and it's got all these movies and lots of people's careers start on Shin-Chan and stuff. Masaaki Yuasa, for instance, comes from working on this show. So there's a lot of reason to check it out, but I don't know, like, in what capacity would be best to do so, or if it's worth it in any of those capacities. But, Cream Lemon, this is a classic porn series. This was like one of the earliest anime porn OVAs from 1984, right after they changed the laws to make it so Japanese porn OVA was possible. The first one was Lolita Anime, this one followed not too long after. And it's long as shit, 38 episodes, and it's just like a bunch of episodic sex stories, but, it's pretty well done, but not enough that I felt the need to continue, I guess. Creamy Pie, that definitely sounds like porn. Yep. Yep. This girl has some huge fucking tits, Jesus Christ. Cross Game. So this is from the classic author. Oh my god, his name's slipping my mind. Let me look him up real quick. Adachi Mitsuru. Yeah. Same guy who created Touch and a lot of other classic like romantic comedies, often with a sports angle to them. I think I just dropped this because I watched episode 1 when it came out, and I just didn't think I'd watch the rest. But I've heard a lot of good things about this show. Some people say read the manga instead. Same goes for Touch. There's a lot of like, either read the manga or watch the anime. But Touch is like considered one of the most classic, anime rom-com sports narratives. I don't even know if it's a comedy so much as just a romance, but Cross Game is another from the same guy. That was adapted a little later. The only one of his shows I've actually watched to completion was Slow Step, which is from 1991, and I did enjoy it. I mean, I didn't love it or anything, but it was pretty good. So I wouldn't mind giving his other stuff a chance sometime. Okay, Cyber City Uedo 808080. About the 808080. So this is another OVA. This one also had an episode that came out in 91, which is why I watched the first one, but I just thought it completely sucked. This is just a cyberpunk it's just like a cyberpunk action show of the, of its time. It's a Yoshiaki Kawajiri thing. His stuff is all about like cool character designs and like badasses doing badass stuff, but it's just not engage. Like, I don't care about any of these fucking characters. Like, all they have going for them is that they look cool, and even then they look extremely 80s, so like this is just for people who are into this aesthetic. Otherwise there's no real reason to watch it. Cyborg 009. So this was Cyborg 009 is a classic manga and had an anime adaptation in the 70s, I believe, but this was like a more modern adaptation that played on Cartoon Network for a while. I don't remember what block it was on. It might have just been on Toonami, but it played for a little while. That's why I've seen a bunch of it. I never got that into it. I always just kind of thought it was okay, but it was one of those I would see random episodes and never really know what was going on. So yeah, I just marked it as dropped because I didn't think I'd ever get back to it, having seen it like, in 2003 or whatever. Defrag, this seemed like an okay show, but not enough to be worth watching all of. It's just like a cute little slice of life after school club kind of show about these characters who are like making a game or something. Super cute main girl, really like her design, and she's voiced by Hanakana, which is always great, but it just didn't seem strong enough to bother with the whole show. Decapo 3, this is another just like based on a visual novel game that I didn't care about. I'm eventually going to have to watch all of this, though, as part of my Shaft project when I finally fucking get back to it. What nobody understands about why I'm taking so long on the Shaft project is because I have to watch like 40 fucking shows for that project before I can even write the first video, because I have to have seen every Shaft show and also other shows by the directors who work for Shaft, including... which one of these? Wait, these are the same. Is this just the same guy, but his name is spelled differently in both places? Because it's almost the exact same name. I can't even tell. But this guy was one of the Shaft directors, and this is one of the shows he did afterwards. So that's why I'll have to watch that eventually. But it didn't seem very good based on the first episode. D. Gray Man. This is another long ass fucking shonen manga. This one. The first episode just felt completely generic. It was just like any old secret society fights monsters show. There's a dime a dozen. But this is one where I know it has a lot of fans, and they will tell you it gets really good after episode 40. So you have to watch 40 episodes of this before the part where it gets good. And now, granted, I've heard... anybody who's watched the whole show has said, well, yeah, that is true. It does get better after 40 episodes. But... like, you have to be the kind of person who'd be willing to watch 40 episodes in the first place, which is not me. So I can't trust any of those people's opinions. Like, how can I trust that the show actually gets good enough after that amount of time when you had to be the kind of person to sit through 40 episodes to even get there, which I'm not. So I would assume I have more strict tastes. This is like this girl has to raise a baby for some reason. They get left with a baby. Yep. I watched the first episode of that. Dagashi Kashi, this was one where I was just let down by the anime adaptation because I'd read the first couple chapters of the manga, and I mean, I didn't think the manga was great or anything, but I really loved this girl and her character design, and I really don't like the way they translated it into animation. She's got the giantess syndrome that people have talked about, where they try to make a girl's boobs so big that they end up making her entirely giant as a result, which is a common problem with too big of boob girls in anime. But yeah, she looks fucking weird in the anime, and her boobs are too big. She looked better in the manga. I mean, this image is fine, but like, what it just pissed me off. And also, they had like rearranged the chapters and stuff, and it was weird. So I Can't Play H. This is a pretty generic action fan service show. That's it. It's just a generic action fan service show. It's not terrible, but it is not exceptional. So I watched 4 episodes and gave up. Mikoto Bhutesu. I actually remember this being pretty cute and funny. It's just like a bunch of people in animal costumes. Or I guess they are the animals, but they have human faces for some reason. It all looks like this, you know. It's just like a cute little fun thing. I'm sure I watched this with my brother Shade like 10 years ago. But I guess we only made it through 8 episodes. And then probably he wasn't interested in continuing or just forgot. And so I just marked it as dropped because I knew I'd never get back to it without him. Danball Senki. What the fuck was this? This looks like some kind of kids show. I don't remember at all. Yeah, I can't pretend I know what that is. Danchigai. This is another 2-minute episode show that I just didn't think was funny enough to watch. Dansai Bunri no Crime Edge. This one I have kind of an interesting history with because this manga, when it was first coming out, was being scanslated by a group called Rice Ballicious, which I was the proofreader for. And the manga was so fucking weird that I totally loved it. Like, I just thought, this is the most batshit insane thing. It's just like I got a really odd premise about this guy who really wants to cut this girl's hair, and her hair always grows. Like, she has infinitely growing hair, and he's obsessed, like, fetishistically with cutting her hair. And then also he has a power that lets him cut anything or whatever, like Shiki's, I guess. It was fucking weird. And yeah, there's a death game and shit. And like, they were translating it, but like their proofreading was dog shit on it. Like, it was unreadable, whoever had done the first couple of chapters. And so I stepped on to become the proofreader and basically make it resemble English in the translation. So I was actually working on translating this manga, but then I think we either dropped it or I just left Rice Ballicious at some point because they were badly managed. But like, yeah, this that's my history with it. And then they made an anime, and it was just really low quality. Like, it looked like dog shit, and just felt bad. So I was like, this doesn't match up with because the manga had like really intense, weird art that looked like the kind of shit I would try to draw. But the anime didn't capture that, so I didn't bother watching much of it. Daily Lives of High School Boys, really popular comedy show. I didn't think it was that funny. There's a few skits that are funny, but most of it I was just like, this isn't that funny. Everyone else thinks this show is so fucking funny, I don't get it. And I hate the character designs. It's another one of those where everyone always goes, oh, it's the director of Gintama. It's the same team as Gintama. They even gave the Tomokazu Sugita the lead character. It's just basically Gintama. Except it's not fucking Gintama. Gintama works because Gintama has such an insane premise. This show's just about high school boys doing dumb shit. It's not that funny. Gintama's an infinite realm of possibility. Whatever. Dentalian no Shoka. This was... Wow, I got really far into this. I don't know why I dropped this. Maybe I just fell behind and didn't finish it, and then like years later marked it as dropped because I thought I'd never get around to it again. This was a Gainax show. This is what they did right after Panty and Stocking, and it's actually pretty similar to Panty and Stocking in that it's another show where they'd bring in like different directors and do something really different, and each episode is like a half episode, so it's like 2 12-minute segments per episode, and then each one would be a different individual story. But unfortunately it's not nearly as interesting as Panty and Stocking. It's not nearly as like experimental and out there, but it would just be all these small stories. Some of them were interesting, some weren't really. Really cool ending video, but yeah, I guess I just at some point gave up on the idea that I would finish it. Days. Oh, this is that soccer show from last year. Yeah, I think I finished or failed that. It was just not that good. Deadman Wonderland. This is another one where I had been reading the manga, because the guy who did the manga for this had also done the Eureka 7 manga, and his art style is fairly close to Eureka 7's art. So I really liked the character designs and everything in the artwork. It had this super edgy premise that was kind of entertaining. It's very much like a grindhouse kind of thing. Like, it's definitely intended to be like an exploitation film atmosphere. But then they made the anime, and it just had none of the life. Like the manga, with the art style it had, it should have had like really bold colors. It should have been like a once again, Bones should have done it. And instead it was Manglo, but they did a shitty job, and it looks like garbage, and it's too slow. Pacing's bad. It's just not good. Death Note. Okay, so I've gotten a lot of shit for dropping Death Note. I think I explained this in a different video, why I dropped this anime, but I had been reading the manga. I was 10 volumes deep, and then the anime, me and my brother were watching it, and, like, it was fine. It was just exactly the same thing as the manga, and, like, I just didn't see a point in finishing it when I was already reading the manga, and I don't even know if the anime was over yet when I watched 10 episodes of it. So, yeah, I just never got around to it again. And, I mean, Death Note's fine. It's nothing incredible. We all know it goes downhill in the second half, you know? So, yeah, whatever. It's alright. Bakuman's way better. Death Parade. This one I dropped because the second episode pissed me off so badly. Because the second episode of this is like half recap and the other half exposition dump. It's just a really terrible second episode, and I'm not generally into these like episodic morality play shows where it's like each episode is just about one character and then like there's a twist at the end. Like, just that formula doesn't interest me very much, so this did not seem like my type of show, even though it was very pretty. Deltora Quest. I think this is one that we watched in the Crunchy Roulette videos. I think this is one with Jesse. I'm not sure. But yeah, this was like just a pretty generic fantasy series that I think is based on like a Western series of novels or something. Denpa Onna to Seishun Otoko. I owe this show a great debt in that it got me into my favorite what was for a long time my favorite band, Shinsei Kamate-chan, who did the opening song, which is a phenomenal OP. Video and song are both incredible. The show has gorgeous character designs and artwork. Like, it is beautiful to look at, but I just didn't get it at all in terms of like the actual show. Like, I was watching it. I think I've marked 2, but I think I just watched the first episode twice. Because I just didn't get it the first time, so I tried it again, and I still didn't get it. I just don't know what's supposed to be funny or endearing about this show, but beautiful characters, I'll give it that. Same designer as Boku wa Tomodachi ga Sukunai, but in this show they're actually translated well to animation. Detective Conan. So I watched like 50-something episodes of this when it was on Cartoon Network. It's good. I like Detective Conan. But it is literally eternal. The show it's still fucking going. It's got like 800 episodes. There's no fucking way I'm ever watching all of Detective Conan. Especially because I don't like the way the art style translates to the modern animation techniques. Like, it definitely looks a lot worse in the later episodes. Okay, Devil May Cry. This is just a really bad Devil May Cry anime. I don't know why it exists. It's dumb. The first episode starts off with Dante telling a bartender, hey, you make me a strawberry milkshake, and the guy's like, fuck you, and then he fights him. He's a demon, and he fights him, and he goes, you should have made me a strawberry milkshake. And I was like, what the fuck is this? Devilman Lady. I think I watched the first episode of this because it is considered a Yuri show, but I didn't watch far enough to find out where the Yuri begins. It's like a horror series. I just didn't. I mean, I watched the first episode. It just didn't seem like my kind of thing at all. I love Devilman the manga, and I don't know if this. Now that I've read Devilman, because I hadn't read it at the time, like, if this goes anything like Devilman in terms of like becoming an epic apocalyptic show, then it might be worth checking out. But I've heard nothing of the sort. I don't know much about this show. Dimension W. I covered this in Finish or Fail. Just a really weird, weak attempt at being like a cool, Darker Than Black-esque 2000s action show that kind of falls flat. Dirty Pair. This is, wow, I watched 4 whole episodes of this, probably at a convention, because I know I watched some of this at an Otakon one year. This is a classic buddy cop, 2 cute girls who are like trying to stop crime, but they end up causing mass destruction in the process, like to a comically over the top degree. It's just like dumb fun, and it wasn't really my style, I guess, so I didn't bother continuing. Discode, this sounds like porn. Yeah, this porn, this girl's got a dick. I remember that, because I wrote a review of this on my anime blog back in the day. Which I don't even know if that's still up. Divine Gate, this was just lame fucking edgelord teen show. We talked about it on the Weebcast last year. Dororon Enmakun Mera Mera. So this is like this was like an old Go Nagai thing adapted, if I remember correctly, in modern times. It was kind of funny, really perverted. I remember not hating the first episode, but not liking it enough to continue. I know this is kind of contentious. There's some people who really like this show if they're into the like old school style that it is, paying homage to, but I just didn't like it that much. Double J. What the fuck is Double J? What the fuck is this? 4 minutes per episode, and I only watched 1. That's probably why I don't remember it. Dojin Work. This is a cute little 4-coma adaptation slice of life show about a girl who ends up writing for doujins. She doesn't know anything about them, but she ends up working on them with these friends. I think I read a bunch of the manga of this because the anime just is so badly produced that it's like, why even bother watching it when you could read it? It's famously got the lolly giving a thumbs up image that's very popular. You can see it in Nate's banner and on his waifu list just for that image. He's never seen or read any of Dojin Work. He just loves that picture so much that she became a waifu. Alright, Dragon Ball. Yeah, I watched a bunch of it when it was on TV. I would like to watch the rest. I don't even know why this is marked as dropped. I actually really want to watch Dragon Ball. But the thing is, I tried to watch it subbed a couple years ago, and I love the artwork. The show looks incredible, but the fucking recording quality of the audio is so fucking dog shit that I honestly couldn't pay attention to it. Like, it would hurt my brain to try to listen to it. So if I watch this, I might watch it dubbed. I know a lot of people don't like the dub. There's some people, like, I mentioned this before, and people were like, but the Japanese performance, and I'm like, yeah, but it sounds like shit. Like, it's painful how bad it sounds. Then we got Dragon Ball Kai. I think I just, like, if I remember correctly, this one was, like, weirdly jarring because it had, like, redrawn scenes or, like, remastered scenes, but then also not ones, if I remember correctly. Maybe I'm remembering wrong, but it's just a cut down version of DBZ, which most DBZ fans say don't watch Kai, because I guess they cut out stuff that people like. So, and then there's Dragon Ball Super, which is the currently running Dragon Ball sequel. Didn't expect this to be so fucking long. Like, when this came out, I was thinking they were going to do, like, a 26 episode return. No, there's 90 episodes now, and it's, from what I understand, been a total roller coaster of quality. Like, people have been, from what I've been hearing, some people, like, really hate one arc, really love the next. You never know what you're gonna get. Dragon Crisis. This is like a action fan servicey show. This guy has to protect this lolly. Had some Sakuga in it, but it's forgettable. Dragon Half. This one is porn. Yeah, or it's like it's either porn or like a mildly, like a somewhat pornographic. I think I saw this on VHS. So yeah, I don't remember it that well. Dragonaut: The Resonance. This is another famously bad show, from the same director as the Asterisk War. This show was just ragged on like nonstop while it was on the air. Like, everyone was fucking picking on this show. It's just like a fan service action show that was like trying to be like it simultaneously tries to be all moody and serious, but just totally falls flat in that regard, while also being this like dumb fucking fan service shit. This was the era. This was like the beginning of the end with Studio Gonzo's credibility, where people were constantly making fun of every new Gonzo show after this, because they really went heavy on this road of like shitty fan service shows. Not all of them were bad though, but yeah, director Manabu Ono. This guy is probably one of the worst directors of all time. No, he did Saki. Saki's good. I like Saki. But he did do Mahoka and Asterisk War and Dragonaut. Like, that is not a good fucking track record, man. That is an abysmal track record. Dramatical Murder. This is a yaoi game adaptation. I watched the first episode and just didn't get it. It's one of those where, like, so much, like, you kind of have to have played the game to understand what's happening in the show. I think we had a Digidoes anime with Hope in it about that, a vlog. Drifters, I did a finish or fail about this. It's alright, but it wasn't quite cool enough to make me want to watch the whole damn thing. Tower of Druaga, I watched the first episode of this. I remember hating it completely. I think this is the one where the first episode is like just a parody, and then the rest of the show is a serious fantasy show. But like, I think we watched this in one of the Crunchy Roulettes, and we were just like totally annoyed with it, if I remember correctly. Dual Parallel Trouble Adventures. This was I don't know much about this show. I remember watching the first episode and not really liking it, but all I had ever heard about this was that it was like one of the big post-Evangelion. Yeah, it's Evangelion, but not too far up its own ass, as people say. Like, this was like cashing in on the success of Eva the show. That's all I ever heard about this show, is that it was like, oh, this is how you see the effect that Evangelion has had on anime, is through Dual Parallel. I don't know how accurate that is. I didn't watch much of it. I just thought it was boring, I guess, and didn't continue. Is it wrong to try to pick up girls in a dungeon? I definitely covered this in Finish or Fail. Really, really shitty second episode that pissed me off. F A Tale of Melodies. So I loved F A Tale of Memories. It was my favorite show for a while. I've got a fucking bedsheet of one of the girls hanging over my bed, or I did, before I moved rooms. So they made a sequel, Melodies. It's like the second half of the game. But this one just felt so much more stale, and I didn't care about any of the characters. I found nothing to connect with. I really tried and just didn't get into it at all. And I wasn't alone in that. There were a lot of people who didn't seem to like this show while it was airing. Others who loved it. Obviously, it scored pretty well. One day I'd like to give it a second chance, because I haven't tried it since it came out in 2008. But, I don't even love Memories as much as I did back then. Those Who Hunt Elves. I don't even remember watching this. It's just a 90s adventure comedy kind of thing, if I remember correctly. I literally don't remember having watched 2 episodes of that. End Ride. Oh, this is the dog shit thing. We talked about that in Finish or Fail, or not, in the Weebcast. We ragged on it pretty hard. This one too, Atelier Esha and Logi. This was just really boring and slow, and I couldn't get into it. This would have been back in the Digidoes anime vlogs. It was just boring. Etotama. This one I really wanted to like. It's got it's a bunch of cute girls who all represent different zodiac signs, and they're all fighting for reasons that were somewhat unclear to me. But they transform into these adorable little CGI versions of themselves and fight. It has really good fight choreography and camera work and everything in the battle scenes. Really great use of CG. But other than that, like, the plot and characters were totally mind-numbingly uninteresting. Like, it was just like, ew, wacky cute girls doing stuff. And then the fights would happen, you'd be like, okay. But there just wasn't enough to ground it, It's alright, it's fine, just not good enough to watch all of. Eve no Chicon. This was one... I remember my friend Donson was super hyped about this show. I think he even translated the trailer. Like, he personally did the subtitles for the trailer before this came out. But it was, like, super slow to release episodes. I remember watching the first one, and then the second one just never came. And then by the time the show wrapped up, they made a movie out of it. So I just dropped the show because I figured I'd go watch the movie version instead, which I'm pretty sure even adds stuff in. Yeah, it's like this movie is an hour and 46 minutes, and the show is 18 minutes an episode for 6 episodes. So that's close to almost exactly equivalent, I think. I'm not a math. Let's see. F-Zero Falcon Densetsu. This was the F-Zero anime that aired on the Fox box. I only ever caught a few episodes of it. It's got an amazing final scene, because there's a video on YouTube. I think it's called like the Ultimate Falcon Punch or something, and it's just like the ending scene of the show where he jumps out of his fucking plane thing onto another one, and he's like, the guy's like, Uru Shinen Shinenzu, and then he's like, Falcon Punch, and then it blows up the universe or something. I watched that video a lot of times with my brothers. Fantasista Doll. I don't remember this. Trading card game. I don't remember this at all. I have no idea what it is. Fate Collade Liner Prisma Ilia. This one, man, it's mostly a fan service comedy show with magical girl elements that I don't find that funny. And then it, like, has a serious plot that emerges in episode 5, and then it tries to be all badass with, like, cool action scenes. But I didn't like the action scenes, and I don't give a fuck about the Fate universe at all. And it all just fell flat for me. I didn't care about it. You know, people were telling me, like, oh, at least watch through episode 5 and 6. And I did, and I was like, well, those were dumb, so who the fuck cares? Great fan service, though. I'll tell you, I've watched the gifs from this show a lot of times. A lot of WebMs that I've watched from that show. Great fan service scenes, but weak-ass show. Fate Stay Night. You know, I dropped Unlimited Blade Works, and I don't care about Fate on the whole. This show got ragged on horribly when it came out. Everyone hated this show because it's so, like, you know, the game is long as shit, so they had to cut a ton of stuff out to fit it in the anime, and it's really badly produced. The animation is just bad. And there's some really fucking cringeworthy scenes. But at the same time, the directing of the show is really interesting. Like, it has lots of interesting shots and framing and compositions and stuff. And so I tried to give this version a shot just to see if maybe I'd like it more. And I think the character designs looked the best in this show. Like, I hate the way they look in fucking Unlimited Blade Works with the stupid fucking shovel faces. Characters look fantastic in this old show, even though the animation's not very good. So I watched 8 episodes of it, but I just kind of crippled under the weight of it just being nonstop exposition and fucking... It's goddamn Fate. Fate is boring. I don't know why anybody cares about this fucking franchise. It's so fucking boring and stupid. Other than the fact that it's got really cute girls in it. That's the only reason I can think of to care about the Fate series. Anyway, Fight Ipatsu Juden-chan. This is like... an action comedy show with a pissing fetish. This girl pisses her pants all the time. Like 3 times in the first episode, they focus on her pissing her pants. And I was just like, well, this isn't my fetish, so I'm gonna stop watching this one. Fighting Futons. This is a weird-ass kids show that about food. Like, the main characters are chefs, and they cook up food monsters that fight each other. It aired on the Fox box, and I only saw a couple episodes of it. Fox box, by the way, was like Fox's Saturday morning anime programming block that was mostly like kids shows and all 4 kids dubs. Flying Witch Petite. So yeah, Flying Witch was a nice little whatever show from last year, a contemplative Iyashikei show. This is like a series of small miniature episodes that are like 2 minutes long, and I really you know what, I did a finish or fail about this, but I expected it to be like the Barakamon Mijikamon shorts, and instead it was just really boring and not good looking, and I didn't like it. Fractale, this show's a fucking train wreck. I was almost done. I almost finished this show, because Fractale is this baffling series where it simultaneously tries to have like this Ghibli aesthetic, like this super well-detailed fantasy world with these whimsical visuals and lots of great animation, and like But it's also moe. It's got these cute moe girl character designs, but it's also got like this bad humor and weird jokes, and then it just gets weirder and weirder as it goes, and like stops making any sense, and the world falls apart, and the plot falls apart, and the main character is completely unlikable. And it was just like, what is happening here? Like, it felt like they put a lot of time and effort and money into this show for something that was a total train wreck. And it was made by Yamakan, directed by Yamakan. He was the guy saying, if Fractale is a failure, I'm going to fucking retire, which it was a failure. And for a few years, he did kind of quiet down, only to come back swinging and still to be one of the most fucking... God, that guy. Everything, he's like the Kanye West of anime. Everything he says is controversial and gets reported on. Except he doesn't have as many classic albums as Kanye. He's got Fractale, which is terrible. And, if I had to point to the moment that A1 Pictures became shit, it's this show. Because in the early days of A1 Pictures, they were doing lots of experimental, interesting stuff. Like, the studio was mostly doing really offbeat shows with, like, crazy art design and, like, bringing in all these experimental directors and stuff. And then it seemed like Fractale was the moment that they tried and just utterly failed. I mean, most of their shows weren't very successful. Like, most of those shows that were experimental and stuff didn't make a big splash, which probably hurt their ability to keep doing it. And then with Fractale, it was just like, this is crashed and burned. And then the next year, they were making Sword Art Online and all this light novel adaptations that blew up, and it was just like, there's the money, let's go, At least that's how it looks to me from my perspective. I don't know how accurate any of that is. Free, the man-service show from Kyoto Animation. Cute boys doing cute things. It's another case of it's not my fetish. So, it seemed fine. I've heard the second season gets better, but, like, I don't know. I'd rather watch the same show, but with a bunch of girls. That's all it comes down to, really. I just don't feel like watching a bunch of pretty boys. Freezing, this is another fan service action show, similar to, like, a Queen's Blade. It's just, like, chicks fighting and their clothes get ripped off. I wasn't that into it, so I'm surprised I made it 4 episodes in. Fruits Basket. This is a shoujo series that was really popular in the early 2000s. I saw a few episodes of this when it was on the Funimation network. That's why I've seen some of it. I don't think I've ever sat down to actually watch it. I've heard good things about this show. I know it was really beloved at the time, but, I mean, it's like a shoujo reverse harem thing. It's not really my style or anything like that. Fudanshi Koko Seikatsu. We talked about this on Weebcast last year. It's just like a 3-minute short kind of thing. And this one I also finished or failed. It's charming, but it's pretty standard, so I just didn't feel the need to continue it. Funeo Amu, also finished or failed this. This just felt like a fucking like a Hallmark Channel Lifetime special thing, and it's too much for me. And Fushigi Yugi, this was a classic shoujo adventure series from the 90s. Cute girl gets sent to an alternate world full of beautiful men, and they fight monsters and people or whatever, and the tsundere, and the relationship goes nowhere, as I understand it. I only watched the first episode, didn't care about it, and there was no way I was going to watch 52 whole episodes. So alright, that's part 2. Yep. See you next time.